everyone, including yourself, like we all have a story and a reason why we are in a position that serves the people, right?
Montgomery County 911, what's the address of the emergency?
Hello, I'm Cassandra Tressler, and welcome to another episode of Voices of Service. Today, you are going to have the opportunity to meet an amazing woman with an incredible story of inspiration. This woman has gone from homeless with 4 kids, feeling as though she had no voice, to now standing on a platform as the Hispanic Liaison for the Montgomery County Department of Police, where she has made it her mission to be a voice of hope, encouragement, and resilience to anyone who may need it. As we continue to celebrate National Hispanic Heritage Month, recognizing the contributions and influence of Hispanic Americans in the U.S., I thought it was not only perfect but imperative that we have her on the show. She is truly an inspiration. Stay tuned and let's welcome Mariela Leon, the Hispanic Liaison for the Montgomery County Department of Police. All right, Mariela, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having
I
me.
should say bienvenidos, no?
Bienvenido.
Is that right?
Gracias.
Awesome. Well, you are our new Hispanic liaison. And I shouldn't say new because you've been with us for quite a few months now at this point. So can you tell us a little bit about what does that mean to be the Hispanic liaison for our community?
That's a great question. So, first to begin, the Hispanic part just basically represents anyone who has an ancestry of a country who speaks the Spanish language. If that's your primary language, that's where the Hispanic comes in. As the Hispanic liaison for the police department, my role is to help build a bridge between law enforcement and the community and to help build a little, more create a safe environment in the sense to like build a trust so that the Hispanic community can feel comfortable enough to contact law enforcement when it's needed.
That's fantastic. I love that you say to build a bridge and to build that trust. Awesome. How did you find this position or how did you end up here? Because I know you're fantastic for it, but I want our community to understand why I think you're made for this position. So how did you end up here?
Great question. So, essentially, I was a recruiter before I came here. And as a recruiter, I got a lot of people who would reach out looking for jobs. So, for this position, I was actually referring a friend who is graduating with her social work degree. And I thought maybe it might be something she was interested in. She was not. And as I was reading the job advertisement, I started falling in love with the language and the role and kind of said, this might be something that I could do. I was not looking for a job, but what captured my attention was the fact that it talked about building trust. The big thing was law enforcement, police department. So you might not know, but my bachelor's degree is in criminal justice because at one point in my life, I wanted to be a police officer.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes. So when I saw that, I felt like it could be a little bit of that, what I wanted to do as a kid. Since growing up, I didn't grow up being afraid of police officers. Although my parents came into this country undocumented, I looked at the police officers with respect. I never looked at them with fear, and that's why I wanted to be a law enforcement officer. So when I saw that, I felt like it's an opportunity to work with the police department, although not as a uniformed officer. And the part that I really got drawn into is that I would be able to work in person with people in my community. I am from Montgomery County, and just being able to share a bit of my story and the things I've had to go through in life and perhaps help another person is just ideal for me. So that is one of the reasons why I chose to apply for this job.
That's awesome. And I know you have an incredible story. Are you open to sharing some of your story here?
I am.
Yeah. So I know you talk about hope a lot and the hope that you can bring to the community, to our community of people. Can you tell me about maybe a time in your life where you were praying for hope or you were hoping to find that in
Yes.
somebody?
I think just to capture a little bit more about who I am today, I'm going to go back to when my life started as a kid. So I am originally from Los Angeles, California. My dad is from Guatemala. My mom's from El Salvador. And during my younger years in life, I remember a pretty like good childhood. We were very poor, and I, did encounter a lot of poverty, but my dad and my mom were very hardworking. I have two brothers who are biological brothers and an adopted older brother. And they played in my like early stages in life. They were the main siblings I had. Later on in life, as I moved out of a home, we had two sisters that came in, but they come into the story a little later
Okay.
in life. So life during that time was pretty good. I had my abuela who helped my parents raise me. And when she passed away, that's, I think, when a big change happened in our family dynamics. I come from a very Christian family. My parents were very strict and very evangelicos, Pentecostal. So just very, very strict rules. Growing up, I did not see God I grew up to kind of not believe in him and even see it as something scary because I grew up being told if you don't do this, you go to hell. If you wear this, you go to hell. If you listen to this certain music, you go to hell. So I started seeing God as like somebody that judges versus like someone that brings hope and is a savior. It took very like many different years later to see life in a different way. I was still very young. We ended up moving to Virginia. So we moved over to the East Coast,
Okay.
and life got very difficult. So our family had to live in a shelter, and there's going to be a picture that is going to be shared where it shows me and my two brothers in front of the shelter that we lived in. And growing up, I didn't have a bed for most, a lot of times we moved around a lot. So in that shelter, it was filled with different bunk beds, and I had my own mattress for myself. I was so excited. And I remember asking for Christmas because we spent Christmas in the shelter for Little Mermaid sheets. And there's an image that I've shared with you guys that shows me with my mermaid sheets. But my mother, I don't want, and had to think a lot about this podcast before I opened up because I don't want to offend my parents. I
Yeah.
think at the end of the day, they brought me here, and no one's perfect. Um, I came from a home that was pretty abusive, and I don't know like what changed because I was so young. But my mother became very physical, like verbally and abusive and physically abusive. And my dad started drinking a lot. They fought a lot. Their dynamics just changed, and things for my brother and I got very, very difficult. For my two brothers at that time, my brother Oscar decided to stay in California and did not move with us to the East Coast. Um, I grew up in a home where I started to become very afraid. I had no voice. I learned to keep quiet and try to do whatever I needed to do to not make my mother upset. And on the other hand, aside from the physical and verbal abuse, I was also being sexually abused from a loved one. And it was very confusing because at that time in my life, I didn't really understand what was happening. It was a very lonely, lonely time. Um, so part of growing up being so lonely, I remember the saddest memories I have of myself is feeling like I had no one to talk to because I felt like I was the only one that had these things happen to. And it's taken many decades for me to talk about it, and it still brings pain. Um, but uh, the reason I'm here with law enforcement is because, what does the police department do? They help people that have gone and go through things that I went through. At the time when I was young, I was very confused. I didn't understand what was going on. And when I did, I became very, very angry with God, with life. I experimented with alcohol and realized really quickly that that wasn't my thing. It didn't take that pain that I wanted to go away. And I didn't want to be like my dad or my grandfather or my uncle, so I didn't go that way. Then I experimented with marijuana, and I didn't like the taste or the smell. And also, it didn't bring that change that I was looking for. And very quickly, I've always felt like there was something better in life for me. Like this couldn't be it. And I thought maybe if I get pregnant, I can leave my house and this will be like my door to freedom. Little did I know that that was not, a door to freedom. It was going to bring a lot of hard work, heartache, and a lot of things in life that made it very challenging. By the age of 16, I got pregnant and had my first daughter. I didn't give up. 2 months after I gave birth, and I did have a C-section, someone mentioned a program. It's through the Virginia National Guard, and it's for kids, troubled teens. And I enrolled. I went in there. It was very challenging, but it showed me in this program that I was smart and capable of doing great things, stuff that I never thought it was possible for me to do. And in that program, I earned the Platoon Sergeant Award, which is given to one person out of class 11 at that time. And I earned my GED. It was very hard being a teen mom because I got to miss out on a lot of stuff. Sometimes you see movies and they make it seem like it could be cool, but it sucked. While my friends were out at homecoming dance and prom and at baseball and, football games, I couldn't do that. I had to work and take care of my daughter. Following that, I had, two failed relationship experiences where I was a victim of domestic violence. And I thought it was normal because, as I mentioned earlier, I came from a home where I had one parent physically and verbally abusing me and another one doing something that was not right either. And sometimes because I think now there's a lot of social media and resources and programs in our county that help people that are in the same situation that I was in, but I didn't have that growing up. It was a little bit different. And so I forgot what part I was in. Shoot.
Well, if you don't mind
Yeah.
me interrupting you, you are a wealth of knowledge, experience, and honestly wisdom. Now, you have literally walked so many different paths to get to such a beautiful setting that you're in now, where you can be the person to give that wisdom to our community, right? To bring help and hope to a lot of people who may be experiencing pain or may be experiencing many of the things that you did while you were growing up. I'm so thankful that you're here. Can I ask, what are one of the things since you've been in this position that you've enjoyed most having been placed here?
There's actually two things.
Okay.
One is and I hope I don't mess up the acronym, the COPE trailer, the Community Opioid Prevention Education Trailer.
Yes.
So along all this, I shared some sad stuff that happened in my life, but I also had great things that have happened. And one of them was that I met a man named Carlos who taught me how to forgive and uh, love myself as a person. He was a very lively, just kind and just amazing person. And I fell in love. We had a son together, and he did not live to see our son's second birthday because I knew he had a drinking problem, but through the normal eye, he seemed normal to me. Aside from the drinking issue, he had a hidden secret that I was not aware of, and it was too late by the time I found out what he had. And he ended up dying from a drug overdose. So that changed my life completely. I lost in a matter like overnight this person that I loved and ended up homeless. But I'll stop there because I want to go back to why the Cove trailer is so important to me. And I love that in my role. Now I'm able to share this story with community members and the Hispanic and community and tell them, what signs to look for. Because if you've never used, drugs, especially with the fentanyl crisis, like you don't know what to look for. So to me, I thought that when he was high, it was that he was drunk. In reality, now that I've learned and went through the training about these signs and what to look for, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish had I known, maybe I could have prevented this, right?
So now you're able to literally walk through and show people, look for these signs. This is what you need to be
Yes.
looking for.
Yes, and I really, really enjoy that. The second part is working with women and teenagers. I never thought that I was going to enjoy working with teenagers so much,
Okay.
but I've been pretty blessed to have been working closely with different teenagers and realizing that, sometimes they just need a little bit of that hope, that voice, and to say, sometimes these teens, when I've talked to them, they look at us and it's like, oh my gosh, you have no idea what I've gone through. What do you know about life? And then when you tell them, because everyone, including yourself, like we all have a story and a reason why we are in a position that serves the people, right?
Yeah.
And I think that has been very amazing to where when I wake up right now, I feel like, okay, I have a purpose. There's a reason why I'm doing this kind of work right now.
Incredible. Awesome. Well, I definitely know from the outside looking in, I can see your purpose and I can see the good that you've already done in so many people's lives. And I say you're not new, but you've been with us for just a few months. And I've already seen the effects that you've had on people around you. So you said you didn't want to share with us, or you were going to go back to
Yes.
the story. So can you tell us about the moments when you realized that you're homeless, and just kind of walk me through how you got from there to sitting here today?
Yes. So after Carlos died, I felt like I went back to step one all over again.
Yeah.
And I was full of grief, very sad. I'm you know, by the age of 24, I already had 4 kids. So I have 3 daughters and a son. And I'm like, what am I going to do with my life? Like,
Yeah.
I began to feel hopeless for
Mhm.
a moment. But I always knew that there was a God, even though I became angry sometimes and I would ask him where he was at. And there was times where it's like, where are you? Why weren't you there to protect me? Or I would yell at him. He was there. He's always found a way to show me I haven't abandoned you. And he didn't abandon me in that time. So a neighbor, her name is Delmi Mena. She was an angel sent from heaven. A single mom with 3 kids on her own was like, Mariela, I'm opening the doors to my home. She didn't have space, but I was able to sleep in her family room floor until I was able to get on my feet. And that was a blessing because all I needed was a place to stay.
Yeah.
And I applied through, just submitted so many applications. I got rejected, but each rejected application, I used it as a motivation to do better, to make, fix that resume and keep learning and ask questions. I finally obtained a job working as a case manager for Frederick Memorial Hospital.
Okay.
And I was very happy. However, life was not, even though it felt like it was getting better, it wasn't ready to stop teaching me or providing more challenges in life. So while working there, I was in the behavioral health unit, and one of the patients there sexually assaulted me. I ended up with scars, tissue damage, and it was, I think, a part in my life where I almost gave up in life. And I shared behind the cameras, I think just yesterday, about a little bit about suicide and depression. And I became very depressed because I felt like, okay, you took this person that was supposed to be the love of my life. Here I'm homeless with 4 kids trying to get back on my feet. You give me a job and then this happens. And then I was angry because this opened a box of repressed memories and things that I forgot about. And talking about my sexual abuse and, being raped as a kid, I pretended it didn't happen. I didn't talk about it. So I had to get and ask for help. It came to a point where I've learned that it's okay if you need the help, you have to ask for help. And there's a lot of resources in the county. Myself, I ended up going through the crisis center, and they got me connected through the victims assistance program, where a wonderful therapist, Dana Knappersack, she's gone now and retired, helped me through the process. And I never stopped. I think that one of the things, you can have a dream, right? You can want things, but wanting them is not enough. Saying you have a dream is not enough. You have to have hunger to want to succeed. You have to have that drive. You have to be willing to work. And I knew that nobody was going to give me that job or that life that I wanted for my kids and I. Like I had to work for it. It wasn't going to magically appear.
I always tell my kids, sorry to interrupt you, but I always tell my kids, you can have a dream, but you got to move your feet in the right way.
Yes, yes, yes. And the county for me, I saw it as a blessing. And at that time, I had to apply for the food stamps and cash assistance and child care assistance, but I didn't want to live off the system. I knew that I was meant here for something better. And I wanted to be a recruiter for the county. And that was my dream since 2012.
Okay.
That goal was I didn't know how difficult it was going to be. At the time, I didn't have a degree and I was working full time. I shared what happened at the hospital and, that horrible experience. I was like, okay, I can't stay in this job. I need to find something that is safe and will provide benefits for my family and myself, and is job security. So I enrolled in school. And while working full time and taking care of my kids, I obtained my bachelor's degree. That opened up the door to work as a case manager for Montgomery County government. And I got my first opportunity through the Department of Health and Human Services, which was wonderful. I still wanted to be a recruiter. And the whole reason behind wanting to be a recruiter was because I wanted to help families that were like me, that didn't want to live off the system and want a job, want to provide for their families, but it's so hard. It's very hard to get a job. I still believe it shouldn't be that difficult to be able to get a job in the county if you want to work. So I didn't get the job that I wanted, right? But I decided to do more research and realized I had to go back to school. And that was a tough decision because I told myself I was not going back to school.
Yeah.
And I enrolled in grad school.
Okay.
I got my master's in human resource management. 2 months after I graduated, maybe 3, I became a recruiter for Montgomery County government. Yes. And sometimes I think in life we think we can want what we want, right? And we think that this is our purpose, this is what we want to do. But God, at the end of the day, has His plan. So I can want all I want, but He knows what He wants for me, and there's going to be one way or another where that path is going to open up. So I thought my purpose was to be a recruiter, but this door opened up, right? And I'm here.
And we are so thankful that you are. I will say, I don't think there's a challenge ever in your life that you are not going to be able to overcome. And I'm so thankful that you're here for our community to not only guide them, but be that resource and that bridge, as you said earlier, to take them to the resources that they need to be able to overcome their challenge that they may be facing. So thank you so much for being here with us today. And I thank you guys for joining us. I hope that you guys get the opportunity to meet and come to one of Mariela's events, because I will tell you, she's incredible. And we are incredibly lucky and blessed to have her here with our department. So thank you. Stay tuned, stay connected, and we'll see you next time.
Montgomery County 911, what's the address of the emergency?